Books have been written on the art to tie your tie. I will not show you that, probably hundreds of different ways of tying your tie. The most famous are the four-in-hand, the half-Windsor, and the Windsor. Let's say these are the three biggest used, most often used knots. In my opinion, you just need to know two knots to really pull it properly. The first one is the four-in-hand. The four-in-hand, it's easy. I can do a four-in-hand right there in front of you with a tie. Okay, I'm going to do it above this one. Okay, a four-in-hand is very easy. You go it like that. A four-in-hand it's super easy because you just go around one time, and then when you around, you go above, and then you put it in the middle, and here you are. You got a four-in-hand knot, and don't forget to do what we call a dimple, but I will come back to this. You see, to give this little imperfection to your knot. You see the difference between this is what you see. This tie is so beautiful that even when you do a knot which is too square, it's still beautiful, which is too perfect, and this with the dimple that gives a little bit of a twist to it. So that's a four-in-hand, okay? Now, some people, especially people who are a little bit shorter and want the tie not to be too long, they want to have a more consistent knot because they have a longer color. They like to do what we call a double four-in-hand. So I'm going to change a tie to have a longer tie. Okay, so a double four-in-hand, I take this one. This is a sevenfold, beautiful tie. So a double four-in-hand is start the same as a four-in-hand. So you do one time. Okay, one here. But instead of going directly like that, you do another round. It's easy, double four-in-hand, and then you go up, and then you go under. So you see, of course, I started very high on the tie, that it make a shorter knot. But it's more interesting. So this one, as is not online, you have to work on it a little bit. And that's something many people don't understand. When you tie your tie, you don't end up immediately with a perfect knot. You have to work on it. You have to readjust it. You have to put the dimple with you. And you understand, this is not a science. It's almost a game. So that's the double four-in-hand, which is also called the Prince Albert. Now let's move to my personal tie knot. And for that, I'm going to be back to, for example, this beautiful Calabrese tie. So I personally, and I've been, sometimes you can be a little bit peremptory and a little bit definitive in what you say. So I remember I've been writing so many times that the only knot that is worth knotting is what we call the old Bertie tie or the half Windsor. So I'm going to show you the tie. Well, to be honest with you, this is the only knot I knew to knot. My father taught me a long time ago, and I only knew this tie knot for probably 2 decades. And then when I went into men's tie, I had to be more focused on other way to do it. So let's do the Hugo Jacomet, the old Bertie knot that I prefer. So I'm going to show you my personal knot that I use since decades, and it's the only one I use whatever the circumstance. So you start like that, but instead of going around like a four-in-hand, you go directly up like that, and then you go around. So you make sure this is really like that, and then you go around. Okay, so I do it again so that you can really understand. With the four-in-hand, you will go directly around. With the old Bertie, the one I prefer, you go directly under. And then only you go around. And what it creates, and then you go above and in the middle. What it creates here, it's a knot, look at that. It's a knot, you immediately understand, it's a little bit asymmetrical. And that's what I love in this knot. And you see what we call a dimple. When you use an old Bertie, I was very lucky on this one to make it because it's very complicated to do a tie knot without a mirror. But I've been tying a lot of ties, probably hundreds of thousands of ties in my life. So now I have practice. But you see, when you do the old Bertie, what I like is a little bit asymmetrical, and there's a natural dimple. When you have a natural dimple that is forming on your tie, it means it's a great silk. And this is the case with this Calabrese. And when I'm not going to tie it above the other one, but you see the dimples makes a difference. All the people who have been writing to me, Mr. Jacomet, your tie knot is not exactly square, is not exactly blah blah, is not exactly straight. Well, I do it on purpose, my friend, because we have something in the sartorial world which is very important to understand. And the Napolitan tailors specifically, and shoemakers and shirt makers have been elevating this to a form of art, is the art of imprecision. The life is becoming so boring, my friend. Put a little bit of fantasy, put a little bit of yourself. I like also me to show a little bit of the other side of the tie. And okay, I don't know if we can show it on the camera, but on my tie, the back of the tie, how do you call it? The little tail is longer than the front tail. Okay, some people will say, this is anathema. This is not possible. This guy is joking. Well, this way of tying the tie and make it the back of the tie longer than the front is not coming from me. It's coming from a very important man in the world of men's style and in the world of time, whose name is Michael Drake. And he has one of the most famous tie brand in the world, which is not owned by himself. He sold it now to our friend Mark Shaw from Hong Kong. Hello, Mark. Michael Drake used to say that if you really want to have a tie that has some spirit, that really is moving with you, make sure that the small tail is longer than the front one. And so many people have said to me, look at this guy. He has a dimple. This kind of imperfection. And he's showing two parts of his tie. And sometimes when I double breast myself, I can't do it here in front of the camera because I'm seated. My tie is going like that. You see? This is what I love. It doesn't mean that you should try to do the same. Some people even use tie bars to make this effect. Some people use tie pins. This is why the sartorial universe is so exciting. Enjoy yourself, have fun. If you want to wear your tie a little bit asymmetrical, do it, as long as you don't become a clown. If you want to show the back part of your tie, if you want to do it like the Italian way, like I do with the little tail bigger than the front one, do it. The idea is to have pleasure, the idea is to feel like you are yourself. And you will discover little by little that you're going to find your way of knotting your tie. And I don't say that I can knot my tie with a closed eye, because it depends on the material I'm using. Sometimes some silk are more strong than others, but honestly, I really have fun wearing tie, and you will rediscover that instead of being something that is really, uncomfortable, and it's really a pleasure to have a time moving with you, and it's something that I really invite you. If you never tried to wear a tie, just try it, just for fun. You don't even have to button the last button, just do it loose, as some people like to do it. It adds something specific. The only thing I have to warn you is that if you are not used to be seen with a tie, people will say to you almost every time, hey, are you going to a wedding today? Or do you go to church? Or do you have a job interview? But it doesn't matter. It's the same when you wear a suit, actually. Many people, they just associate the wear of being elegant with a special occasion in life. What about if life was a special occasion every day? And that's, I think, the philosophy behind the sartorial community. What about if we make every day a special occasion? And that's something that I'm really believe in. And the tie is a fundamental accessory for that. So let me finish this special edition on ties with a few brands, because you always ask me for recommendations. So, of course, once again, it's not the list of the best tie makers in the world, because there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tie makers, because everybody say the tie is dead, but yes, the bad quality tie is probably dead. When we speak about quality tie, let's say started at around €80, dollars, up to 200 and more, depending on the quality of the silk, etc. Let me give you a few names. For example, you should look for Howard's in Paris. Howard's in Paris, hello Frédéric. Frédéric Costa, great guy. We've been talking about him for our shirt edition. Fantastic tie maker. He makes his tie in Italy. He's sourcing the best fabric. He has hundreds of different patterns, hundreds of different quality. This is a fantastic tie maker, and the choice is tremendous. I think on his, I would not say some stupid things, but probably a few hundred ties are available at a very correct price. Howard's in Paris, beautiful ties. Then you have, of course, I've showed you already Calabrese. Calabrese in Napoli, my friend. Hello, Annalisa. Beautiful ties. One of the pillars of the Napolitan tie, together with Francesco Marino. It's another great company in Napoli. And of course, Marinella, which is probably the most famous tie maker in Italy, in Europe for sure, and maybe in the world. And they create beautiful, beautiful tie. This is for Italy. If you go a little bit north in Italy, you go to Milan and you will find Petronius, for example. Petronius, same thing. It's a family, 2 sisters, 1 brother. Beautiful. Especially the wool ties at Petronius are absolutely gorgeous. Wool and cashmere. They know, I don't know, they have a little difference, a specialty on that. They do some real beautiful wool and cashmere tie. Petronius in Milan. Of course, you have in France Charvet, which is probably the Everest of tie and shirts. I think at Charvet, when you enter Charvet Place Vendôme in Paris, I spoke about them quite extensively in our edition on shirt. I think you have more than 8,000 different ties in exposition in the shop. This is a sea of ties. Beautiful. And I will say Drake's, of course, of London. I spoke about Michael Drake. Drake's is a beautiful, now it's an haberdashery. They sell also, the full garments and shirts and many different things. But the tie remain the roots of the company, and they do beautiful work on ties in England, made in England. I have to say that it's a performance, and Mark Shaw, hello Mark, is doing a great job with his brand and his team. Drake's of London. And I will finish with one of my favorite, if not my favorite, that I'm wearing today is Taio Tai from Florence. It's a Japanese brand, as the name doesn't say. It's managed by a friend of us called Kenji Kaga. Great person. Is a Japanese. Impeccable taste. I think Taio Tai France is bespoke only. That is to say, you choose your fabric. Is sourcing incredible vintage fabric. Look at this fabric. This is really something special, and he's making this kind of marvels, and I really adore. Of course, it doesn't cost $10. It's probably around 180, 200 euros, but it's a luxury item that will add something really special to your outfits. So that was our special edition on ties. Of course, I could speak on this subject for hours and hours and hours, going through the different kind of weaving, the difference between the silk, between the grenaded silk, between the blend of how do you use wool, etc., etc. And maybe in the future we're going to do something more technical, but this is the thoughts I wanted to share with you about tie. And let me take my paper, because for once I have a paper. Remember that a well-tied tie is the first serious steps in life. Oscar Wilde. Cheers.